everybody, Pat Huntoon here, and today we're going to be making the cute card that you saw on the front using the Everything Dandelion set. And we're going to be making something from a CD I did a few years ago called the Bodacious background stamps. And I did this CD because obviously I sell a lot of background stamps, but there's so many things you can do with them other than just simply stamping them on a white piece of paper or stamping them on a colored piece of paper. So what I decided to do today was pull out my CD, dust it off, and show you some techniques from it. 30 techniques on this, and it's a really cool little CD. All the CDs, all the tutorials are in step-by-step format. They're PDFs that you can print. You can look at them on your computer too. But it comes with this table of contents, and the table of contents shows you everything that is on the CD. It lists them all out, so you can print out the table of contents and say, okay, I want to do Irresistible Rainbow. And it'll show, you can go to the CD, open it up, and you've got it there. So I also, CDs delivery, I also have online delivery if you're interested in that too. So that, just to show you that these came from the Bodacious background stamp CD. So what we're going to do today, we're going to use this Everything Dandelion. And anytime you start with a stamp, a rubber stamp that has rubber and cling, you need to take the white paper off the back. Once you take the paper off the back, you can mount it right onto your mount. Now, I am using this mini mount. This mini mount is made by Impression Obsession. I happen to carry them too. So once I have that on there, we're going to do 180-degree stamping. That's the name of the technique we're going to be using, and it's very, very simple. I'm going to be taking Distress ink, mustard seed distress ink, and I'm going to rub that all over my background. Now, most people tell you to tap. I'm a lazy stamper. I rub. The difference between stamping and rubbing and tamping, and I don't know if you can see that I have little fibers on the ends of my ink pads. Can you see that there? That's because I rub. And when you rub, you get fibers. I'm lazy though. This does add a lot more ink. So I'm just going to put a whole bunch of mustard seed distress ink there. I'm using Nina Solar White cardstock. You can use any cardstock. I just happen to really like this. And I'm going to actually just apply this right on the background. See how it's just one quick little roll there? So there's the background there. It's cute, but we can make it better. Then I'm going to turn the piece of paper around 180 degrees, hence 180-degree stamping. And I'm going to use Barn Door next. And because yellow and red make orange, and I like that color combination, I'm just going to go right over the yellow. Now, I could have cleaned this up to get crisper, clearer colors with the Barn Door over the mustard seed, but I really want both colors on there. If this one end of this stamp was really, really different from the other end, I would place this as close as I could over the actual stamped image. But what I'm going to do is offset a little bit because the images are really similar top to bottom on this particular image. So I'm just going to stamp it in red. And can you see that pretty little extra burst of color that's in there? Now I could, if I wanted to, I could go over it again. I could just move it offset a little bit and put yellow, orange, green, whatever color I wanted to put on there. For the second card today, we're also going to be working off the Bodacious background stamp CD, and I've selected another technique, and this technique is called Brayered Resist. So for those of you who haven't brought your brayer out recently, this is a great way to do that. So again, we're going to take the mini mount, which I should point out is 4 inches by 5 inches in this. My stamps are actually 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but you can see it just hangs off a little bit. It's not really a big deal. So what we're going to do here is take Versamark ink, and I'm using white glossy cardstock here. You can see it's glossy. And I'm going to put my Versamark ink all over my background stamp. Now this isn't as easy to squish around, so I'm tapping this one. I would show you the top of my Versamark pad, but it's very dirty. It doesn't really matter. You'll actually be able to see it as a viewer better on the video. So I'm just going to take that and stamp that right on the plain white glossy cardstock. Nice little stamping of that. Can you see that? I think you can see it just a little bit right in the background. And let that set for 1 second. While that is setting, I'm going to take my brayer. Now I could use a Kaleidocolor pad, which is probably the fastest way to do this, but I don't have my Kaleidocolor pads out, so I'm going to use the same two colors I used before, the Barn Door and the yellow mustard. And you notice what I'm doing here? I'm taking my brayer, I don't know, I think I was just doing that off camera a little bit. I'm taking my brayer and I am running it over those two colors. And see this big gap in here, this gap? I'm going to make up for that by going back and forth and over. There's something on my brayer that is just not pretty. I'm just going to go back over this and brayer again. I'm going to get some good color on there. Lots of color on that brayer while this is setting up a bit. You want that to dry just a little bit. You don't want to do it while it's solid wet because this is a resist technique. So I'm going to move that over and I'm going to go this way, I think. Now I'll go this way. So we're going to do a little bit along the bottom. And you notice I'm going back and forth over. Oh, look at that loveliness of green in the center. That's where I didn't pick it off. So we're going to go over that a few times. This is going to have an interesting green stripe on it. It was meant to be that way, right? That's where we look at it. And you can see that resist really coming through. And we're just going to go over that again. That's interesting. And then I'm going to take this piece of paper and I'm going to turn it 180 degrees and keeping my inks in the same orientation as I had them before with the yellow on top and the red on the bottom. I'm just going to go over and ink that up again, and then I'm going to take and make sure that there's red here on this side and go over the yellow again. So I'm going to intensify that yellow color and then just do the top in red so it actually blends as a red, orange, yellow. And when I'm done, it'll be orange-red. So I'm going over that a few times. Now, I don't get upset by things like that green because that stuff happens to me all the time. And then I just act like that's the way I meant it to be. All right, so you can see that with those bursts on it, the same burst as we did in this one, in the same colors. So now I have two really quick and easy backgrounds that I can finish off. The fun thing about this one is that I can take Stays On ink and a stamp like this one, which is what I'm going to use on it. Fly a kite, jump in the puddles, climb trees, lie in the grass, build a fort, pretend. And I'm actually going to stamp this right over the top of that surface. I'm going to let that dry for a second. I'm going to take that one out. I'm going to put it on my mini mount. Put it on my mini mount. See how I'm using the same stamp. I'm just going to make sure that it's aligned with the bottom here so that I know if this is straight, if this bottom is straight on here, then I'm getting a nice straight stamping there. I'm going to take out my Stays On pad, a black Stays On pad, ink that up. I can stamp right over the top of that. So try to center this a bit. Get it nice and centered. Start it. This is how I do it. I start at the top, I hold it firmly, and I just do one quick row. That's it. So there you go. That's a background there. And this one I will finish off. Maybe I'll use the same stamp, maybe not. And I'll show you when I'm done. So here are the two cards finished. This is the 180 degree stamping, and you can see the pretty background there with the yellow and the red. And to finish it off, I just matted the perspective stamp. This is perspective stamp with the girl in the swing, and it says taking time to do nothing often brings everything into perspective. So I just stamped that in red, I overlaid it in black, and then I matted the whole thing. And the other one, using the dandelions and the Fly a Kite set, which I showed you when I stamped it on there, I just stamped it right over the background in black, and I just added a little shimmer tape and a charm, and then that one's done. So those are two fast and easy cards that didn't take very long to make, and they're just two of the 30 techniques on the Bodacious background CD. But I hope you learned something from me today, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for coming by.